Hi, my name is Sanjana Rao, and I'm a student currently taking the first-year seminar Anthropology 89, Blackness, Race, and Racialization. In this video, I will begin by discussing mine and others' preconceptions about race. Then I will talk about the lessons I learned in this class and how I will use these lessons. I asked my friends what they thought race was, and here's what they said. A social construct based on physical characteristics that aims to group people, an irrelevant label used to create divisions within society, the way you look based on where you're from, and the physical characteristics that reflect your ancestry. What did I know about race before this class? I knew race was a social construct, but I didn't know why. I also knew that it was based on physical characteristics. The first lesson I learned in this class were the definitions of race, racism, and racialization. Particularly, racism was defined as the belief that a certain group was inherently inferior. This definition taught me that instances of discrimination are not the same thing as racism. Racism is structural and institutional, whereas discrimination is a single act. The second lesson I learned in this class was that humans have an innate need to characterize the world around them. According to Gossett, for example, Aristotle attempted to explain the differences of race through climate, heat and cold, by saying that those from a cold climate are more politically organized than those from a warmer climate. I use this lesson to understand that we cannot view society in a colorblind fashion. Because humans naturally separate them from us, it is important to recognize and embrace our differences. The third lesson was that race was used by the elites to divide the poor whites from the poor blacks to enact more control over them. For example, Allen states that labor unrest such as Bacon's Rebellion led to the formation of the white race. Through this, I learned that race is a social construct because the elites created the white race in order to enforce separation of the poor whites and blacks. The fourth lesson I learned was that race and biology are linked. For example, Gravely discusses a study that found that the risk of having a baby with low birth weight increased among Arab women after September 11th. Through access to health care, disparities in health, and criminal justice institutions, race becomes biology. The fifth and final lesson I learned was that race and ethnicity are two different things but can overlap. A shared ethnicity can be characterized by shared cultural beliefs, ancestry, languages, and worldview. For example, Latinos can be of different races, Black, white, Indian, and multicultural, but of the Latino ethnicity. What I learned from this was that ethnicity can be racialized and that we should conceptualize Latinos as an ethno-racial formation. Through this class, my understanding of race has greatly evolved. I went from thinking that racism and discrimination are the same thing to understanding that racism is a complex issue based on structures and institutions that cause a group to be viewed as inherently inferior. I also went from thinking that Jim Crow was a thing of the past to learning about the new Jim Crow, which includes institutionalized racism found in the justice system and in laws such as voter suppression. I will use the lessons I learned to exercise my rights as a citizen to voice my objections against institutionalized racism by contacting my local government. I will also educate others about misconceptions, such as the misconception that only white people can be racist. Third, I will understand the importance of talking. Through the discussions we did in class and what I saw from the events at the beloved community center, talking about events helps people understand the personal level of race and prompts us to make changes. In conclusion, the 5 lessons I learned were that racism and discrimination aren't the same thing, we can't view race through colorblindness, race is a social construct, race and biology are linked, and race and ethnicity are not the same. I will use these lessons by exercising my rights, educating people, and talking to people about their experiences with racism.
Created using Powtoon.